I have helped hundreds of people successfully lose weight, but many of them could have gotten to their goals sooner if they hadn't been making these common weight loss mistakes. So to avoid a whole lot of misery, I'm going to share these with you today too. If you're new here, I'm Maria and I'm a registered dietitian. Welcome to the channel. 65% of American adults think gluten-free foods are healthier, and 27% choose gluten-free products to aid with weight loss. Now, I'm going to shock you here, but gluten-free foods tend to be higher in fat, sugar, and salt, and lower in protein and fiber and other essential nutrients. Plus, they end up typically having more calories than their regular counterparts. If you think about it logically, gluten is a protein that when we use it in baking, it helps make our bread tall and fluffy. And when you don't use it and you take it out, you have to add in a whole bunch of other things to try and get your bread or your baking products that nice, tall and fluffy way as well. So typically a whole lot of other stuff needs to be added to try and make the food taste good. And being honest, it usually still isn't as nice as the regular stuff either anyway. So unless you absolutely need to go gluten-free because you've been diagnosed with celiac disease or have a gluten sensitivity, choosing gluten-free foods in your regular grocery shop tends to not always be the best choice. Plus, they also tend to be a lot more expensive. In fact, switching to a gluten-free diet often leads to weight gain initially. And this is something that we see a lot in newly diagnosed celiacs. So this mistake is going gluten-free when it's not necessary. So bottom line, if you can tolerate gluten, then go for it. Now, some people go into a diet with a huge amount of initial motivation and they make drastic cuts to their calories. Now, this is not a good approach because your brain now thinks that it's being starved. And so it starts sending survival signals. And these signals ramp up your appetite, giving you really intense food cravings. And you will find yourself starting to think about food all of the time. And then when you do allow yourself to have food, your brain intentionally turns off your fullness signals to allow you to overeat. Again, it's a survival mechanism. It wants you to eat as much as you can to stock up in case there's another famine or starvation period again tomorrow. If you have ever experienced a loss of control around food, which is something many of my clients report that they experience, well, this is why. It's a human response to starvation. There is nothing wrong with you. Many people think that there is something wrong with them, and this gives them a huge sense of relief. When I explain that there is nothing wrong with them, this is human physiology and a normal response to starvation. Now, our metabolism also slows down to save energy because it thinks it's being starved. And often, without realizing it, we start to move less. We don't fidget as much as we usually do. And the body overall goes into an energy-saving mode. And this might be a more extreme example, but when I have an eating disorder patient who is very underweight, they often become very unexpressive in how they communicate. But this is the brain trying to save energy. So this mistake is eating too few calories. And now I don't want to stress anybody out here. If you've been doing this, you haven't permanently damaged your metabolism. With some careful nurturing and bringing your calories back up, the majority of people's metabolisms can return to normal within a decent time frame. I'm going to pause here and ask that if you're enjoying the video so far, I would really appreciate it if you hit the red subscribe button below. It really helps support my channel to continue making more videos. And if you're looking for healthy, high protein recipes, make sure to follow me over on Instagram. Now, if you're pouring oil straight from the bottle when you're cooking or having a salad, I need you to stop doing that. Instead, take out your tablespoon. Instead, take out your tablespoon and measure out your oil. And a tablespoon of olive oil has 120 calories in it. So if you pour straight from the bottle, you're adding anywhere from between 400 to 500 calories with that. So just limit the amounts. The other big one to keep an eye on is mayonnaise. A generous spoon of mayonnaise can have the same amount of calories as a chocolate bar. You can easily come up to 200 calories. And I see people and they're putting 3 big heaped tablespoons of mayonnaise into their salads. And this can be adding anywhere between 500 to 750 calories. And this salad is just for themselves. So if you want to use mayonnaise, what I recommend is just using a small amount and then add in some Greek yogurt too. That way you get some of the flavor, some of the texture, all of the creaminess, but you're not piling on the calories with that too. And I see a lot of people who are trying to lose weight and come lunchtime, they go out to their local deli or cafe and they purposefully say that instead of ordering a sandwich, they order a salad because they want to make the lighter choice. But often, if you're not careful, these salads can contain way more calories than the actual sandwich, even if the dressing looks healthy. So just be careful here. Now, please do remember though that fat is not your enemy. Fat is a nutrient and we do still need it. But if you are struggling with your weight, I find a lot of people don't really understand the amount of calories that you can add with things that we think of as just being a little bit of dressing. So this mistake is being too heavy-handed with your salad dressing. Food and supplement companies want to make money. They are not concerned about your health. And they use clever tactics to draw consumers' attention to one aspect of a food, to make the food appear better for you than it actually is. This is what us dietitians like to call the health halo effect. And a big one that I'm seeing lately is turmeric. And yes, turmeric is a spice that is good for us. But if you put turmeric spice on a cookie, it is still a cookie. Or if you have a turmeric spiced latte that still has a lot of syrup, sugar, or cream in it, the turmeric sprinkled on top does not cancel out all of the other things. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So just be mindful of these clever marketing techniques. I remember being out with a friend a few years ago at a coffee shop. Now, she wasn't a dietitian, she had no background in nutrition. And this just always stuck in my mind. But in conversation, she was telling me that she was trying to lose weight, that she had joined a gym, and she was trying to eat healthier. So when the waiter came to take our order, she ordered a salad because again, she said she was trying to be good. Now after lunch, we ordered 2 coffees and she also ordered this brownie that they had on display right beside the till. It was called a paleo, gluten-free, grain-free brownie. And in her words, she said this was okay for her to eat because it was gluten-free, dairy-free, and free of everything. But it was still a big chocolate brownie that definitely had 400 calories, if not more, in it. But this is a typical example of the health halo effect. Now, did I tell her or did I just let her eat her brownie in peace? Well, comment below and let me know what you think I did. So this mistake is falling for the health halo tactic. So I have a bad habit. When I'm stressed out, I like to eat peanut butter out of the jar. Now, peanut butter is not bad for you. Most people would consider it a healthy food. And peanut butter really is quite filling, especially if you're eating it out of the jar. So I usually feel like I'm only having a tiny little bit, that it's not really that significant. But when I think I'm starting to get a little bit carried away, what I will do is I'll put the peanut butter on the weighing scales, have the peanut butter, have as much as I want, then put it back. And then I realize how much I have actually had. That thing that I thought was just a tiny little spoonful ended up being like 500 calories. So I could have basically just sat down and had a full proper meal at that point. So just because a food is healthy does not mean that you can ignore portion size. In theory, if you ate a ridiculous amount of broccoli every single day, you could gain weight. Just the same way as if you were eating loads of chocolate. Now in practice, it would be really hard to eat that amount of broccoli. But you get my point. So this mistake is that healthy foods can cause weight gain too. And this is my biggest pitfall because I love healthy food and I think healthy eating can taste amazing. I don't believe anyone when they say healthy food doesn't taste good. I'm always making healthy recipes, but it doesn't mean that just because these muffins that I made with ingredients that are healthier than normal, that I can still eat 3 to 4 or 5 of them every single day and not gain weight. Now, if you're interested, I have a free recipe ebook, which I'll leave linked in the description box below. But again, portion size matters. Now, if you go into a gym and you go up onto a treadmill and walk for a while, it will tell you how many calories you have burnt. But this is hugely inaccurate. Way too many people then use this as an excuse to eat back the calories later. Plus, the amount of calories that you burn can change by something as simple as whether you hold onto the rails on the treadmill or not. Similarly, in the last few years, these Apple Watches and fitness trackers have become hugely popular. And many of them will also tell you how many calories you burned each day. But again, their estimates are not that accurate. And I encourage every client that I work with to ignore these kind of metrics. They're great for other things like measuring your steps, but we shouldn't focus on exercise as a way of burning calories in that moment. Exercise has huge benefits for weight loss, and they go far beyond just the amount of calories that you burned when you're walking on that treadmill. They give you more energy, they boost your mood, and the right kind of exercise can help you burn calories long after you have finished your exercise session. So really, the amount of calories you burned in that 45 minutes on the treadmill is the least important part out of the whole thing. And again, usually quite inaccurate. Now, nobody loses weight like this. And in fact, for most people, it can look more like this. A lot of people put way too much focus on the weight on the scales. And with clients, when I try to navigate away from using just this, they do find it really, really hard. And I get it, it's a really specific measurement. And if you see it coming down, you think you're doing really, really well. But when you rely too heavily on the scales, and sometimes you see no movement, or even a small bit of weight gain some weeks, some people get really frustrated and it emotionally upheavals them. And then they throw in the towel. So I want to emphasize the importance of not solely relying on your body weight as the measure for success in a weight loss journey. And true health is both physical and mental well-being. So shifting the focus from weight loss to embracing an overall feeling of health and wellness is really important. It's not just about the numbers on the scale. And I could do a whole other full video on this, but the weight on the scales is affected by a whole load of other things. How you've slept, if you exercised the day before, if it's coming up to the time of the month, hormones. So it's really not always as straightforward as we sometimes think. Now let me know in the comments which mistake you found the most surprising. And if you enjoyed this video, you're definitely going to enjoy this video here, which focuses on what you should actually do if you're trying to lose weight. As always, don't forget to subscribe and give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Stay happy and healthy, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching.